Hey guys, it's Mariana, and today we're going to talk about book-to-screen adaptations and what I think makes a good one. So I recently watched the movie adaptation of Child 44, and it was not a good adaptation. It was not a good film. I was really upset about this because I was really looking forward to this movie because I loved the book. But it didn't work out, and that got me thinking about what makes a good book-to-screen adaptation, whether it's a movie adaptation or a TV show adaptation. What is like the secret ingredient to making a good one? I think this is a really interesting topic to discuss because a lot of people are going to have different opinions on this. But the reason I do want to talk about it is because in the recent years there have been so many book-to-screen adaptations, and some have been really good, some have been really bad, some have been okay, and there are a lot coming up as well. Pretty much anything that is made these days is based on something. It's either a book or a short story or a comic book, or it's a remake or a sequel, and I'm not going to talk about that today. I'm going to focus on the page-to-screen adaptations, but in general, it kind of makes me sad that every time I see an original movie that the script isn't based on anything, I am thoroughly impressed because that doesn't happen very often. Obviously, these movies and these TV shows still exist, but for the majority of what's being made, it's usually based on something. So I'm going to tell you my thoughts on what makes a good book-to-screen adaptation, and I really want to know what you guys think. So please let me know in the comments below and give me some examples of what you think are bad or good book-to-screen adaptations. So first of all, I think book-to-screen adaptations are a tough thing to do well because you have to appeal to two kinds of audiences. The movie or the TV show that you're making has to work for people who are readers of the source material and are fans of the source material. So it has to work as an adaptation, but it also has to work for people who are not familiar with the book or whatever it's based on. And it has to work on its own as a movie and as a TV show. Sure, if you're adapting something really famous, you're probably going to think that your core audience are people who are fans of the book. And that's true for something like Hunger Games or The Fault in Our Stars. Of course, people are going to want to see the amazing books that they have read, but at the same time, you're still going to get a ton of people who haven't read the books, who just want to see a good movie, and they're still really hyped up. Now, a lot of people who have read the books or the comic books are going to say that they want to see the movie or the TV show be exactly like what they read. They want it to be done from beginning to end the way they read it, and they don't want any deviation. And I don't necessarily think that's the key to success because, first of all, you're going to have things that work in the book that cannot work on screen. Or the other way around, there are things that work on screen that just don't work in the book, so why wouldn't you try to make things better? Then of course there's the issue of if you're making a movie, you cannot fit something like a 500-page book into a 2-hour movie. It's impossible. You're going to have to cut something out. You're going to have to make it work. Or on the other side of things, if you're adapting a book series, for example, into a TV show, you have to stretch some stuff out. You may need to add some things because if you want this TV show to continue for quite a long time and you don't have something like A Song of Ice and Fire to work with, then you're going to have to add your own stuff to it that needs to fit in but also needs to please the readers. It's complicated and it's impossible to make it exactly like the books. It's also impossible to make it exactly like the books because everybody has their own unique vision of the books. Let's say we both read The Lord of the Rings and we have never seen the movies. I guarantee you that my version of Rivendell is going to be completely different from your version of Rivendell, and also completely different from everybody else's version of Rivendell. There might be similarities, but still, the way our imaginations work is that we imagine things our own way, and that's something that's beautiful about movies, that we get to see this one person's vision of whatever it is they read. Furthermore, and this may not be everybody's opinion, but at least for me, I don't necessarily want to see the book that I read portrayed exactly the same way on screen, because then I'm kind of bored. There's nothing to surprise me. For example, let's take season 2 of Game of Thrones and A Clash of Kings. In season 2 of Game of Thrones, there are these awesome interactions between Arya and Tywin Lannister. There are amazing conversations. It builds the character for both of them, and those scenes were just so interesting to watch. That does not exist in the books. That doesn't happen in the books in any way, shape, or form. And I am glad they added that on. First of all, nobody saw that coming, and second of all, I think it made the story better. I actually liked that addition in the show. What I think is more important than following the storyline exactly to a T is recreating the feel and the mood and the style of the book. Because when we read a book, if you think about it, what you remember is the way it made you feel. What makes a book good is how you related to it and what it made you think about. And there's thunder outside if you can hear that, so just ignore that. I think what a good book-to-screen adaptation does is that it makes you feel the same things. It evokes the same emotions. Just think about the Red Wedding in Game of Thrones. How crazy was that? It wasn't exactly the same as the book, but oh my god, that was an insane episode. What I think really helps with that is when you have the writer of the source material helping out with the script, or even writing the script. Obviously, that's not always an option, but I feel like this is always a good thing. Think about the adaptation of Gone Girl. Gillian Flynn adapted the book into the screenplay herself, and that movie felt exactly like the book. The things that she changed in order to turn her book into the movie actually made it a better story in some ways, in my opinion. For example, the ending. When I read the ending of Gone Girl, I felt incredibly frustrated. I thought that I loved that entire book until it ended, because I thought the ending didn't fit. And then the way that she adapted it into a movie and tied it in with all of the other themes that were happening throughout the movie was brilliant. And I actually thought the movie had a better ending than the book. Now, something that you don't want to mess with under any circumstances are the characters and the character arcs. And I think this is where Child 44 failed miserably, because they took the lead character and they annihilated the kind of character growth that the book had for him. Leo Demidov in the beginning of Child 44 is not a likable character. He doesn't just follow orders. He believes in the ideals and his country, and he believes that what he's doing is right. And then you have this beautiful character arc for him where he starts questioning what he's doing and he becomes a different person by the end of the book. And then in the movie, what they did to that character is they had him following orders and not questioning anything in the beginning in the way that made him seem just like a spineless person. And then after he has kind of fallen out of graces, he just couldn't really follow orders anymore, so he did his own thing, which is not what his character is all about in the books. And if they kept that character development, it would have already improved this adaptation. Now, that movie had bigger problems because they took out one of the main twists, and that was a problem, but in general, they made characters uninteresting, which should not have happened with that book. Characters are the essential part of a book-to-screen adaptation, because in the books, you may be enamored with the writing, you may be enamored with the setting or the way everything's described and the politics and all of that. But when you're watching a movie or when you're watching a TV show, what you want to see is a character that you want to relate to. There's nothing else that can really distract you from that. This is why we watch things. This is why I watch Game of Thrones, because it has these amazing flawed characters and they're all strange in their own way, but they're also really relatable, and you have amazing actors, which, by the way, obviously amazing actors are one of the keys to a book-to-screen adaptation. That just goes without saying. Acting, directing is necessary. In conclusion, what I'm trying to say here is that a book-to-screen adaptation has to convey the same themes and have the same tone as the book. It has to have the same characters and the same character development, but it does not have to follow the book exactly. As long as we get from point A to point B, A and B being major events, we can have some liberties in the middle, which will make it more interesting. The difficult part is that you have to have all of these elements work together because, for example, the Maze Runner adaptation, you have the right tone and you have the right visuals, but you don't have the strong script and you don't have the strong characters and the relationships that makes the viewers care about them. So it's an okay adaptation. It's still interesting, but it's not great. So let me know what your thoughts are on what makes a good book-to-screen adaptation and what you think are examples of good and bad book-to-screen adaptations. I would love to know. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching. If you did enjoy it, please don't forget to give it a thumbs up and also subscribe to my channel if you haven't already. I hope you guys are having an awesome day, and I will see you soon in my next video. Bye!